What's up everyone, welcome to the channel. Today we are going to be talking about some of my unfiltered opinions when it comes to the Miss Universe 2023 delegates. So far, we are only a few hours ahead of the preliminary competition and I told myself, you know what, I have a lot of thoughts. I don't know how to necessarily put everything down on a video. So I'm gonna just, start recording and give you guys my unfiltered comments. Basically, what we're going to be doing is just going through all of the delegates and I will be sharing with you guys my comments and opinions for some of them. And what I mean by that is that there's over 88 delegates. It's a lot of them. And if I don't stop on their name, if I don't say anything about them, it's whether I don't have anything to say or I just haven't had enough interactions with them. But as much as possible, I'll try to cover all of the delegates that I have interacted with. So the first one that I really want to mention here is Miss Angola. I honestly love her attitude. She is very friendly with the media, with a lot of the people who stay at the lobby constantly to get photos of the girls, videos of the girls, and she's one of those people who is always ready with a very positive vibe, and I really appreciate that. Same thing applies to Miss Bahrain. I think that she's one of the girls who is representing Arabic women who are really standing out in my opinion, both with her attitude and with her personality. I know that a lot of people don't tend to talk about her because she's more of a dark horse in the competition, but for me, she does have a chance of standing out. I have a feeling that Miss Universe is not just looking for performance and pasabog, they're also looking for a girl who is true and honest and genuine and approachable, and all of those things I do see in Miss Bahrain. Just because they're back to back, I'm going to talk about Miss Bolivia and Miss Brazil. Both of those girls, in my opinion, so far are being underestimated, underrated. The reason for that is because, of course, they don't come from countries who have as much of a sash factor in pageantry overall, although I think that both girls are being extremely consistent. I've seen them rehearsing during the rehearsals for the prelims and the finals, and both girls are bringing it. I have seen Miss Bolivia quite a few times from a really close distance, and she's extremely beautiful. She has a very angelic face, which I love. Let's talk about Miss Cameroon. Not enough people talking about her in person. She is definitely a standout and, in my opinion, one of the strongest girls of the African continent. She's also super kind. From the very first time that I arrived in the lobby at the hotel, I approached her, I took a photo with her, and she was super nice. Ever since, she is always the one who approaches me to say hello, how am I doing, how's my day, and that for me it's truly remarkable because I don't know, we are truly so many people here in the media who are covering the event, so for her to take the time out of her day, she already doesn't have a lot of time, to come see me, to come talk to me, and she does that with several people. I just think that it speaks volumes about her personality. Let's move on to Miss Canada, representing my home country, and I'm going to say I am really over the moon with Madison. I knew already that she was going to bring her A game because I saw her competing at Miss International. I got to interview her prior to the competition before she arrived in Salvador, and now just seeing her here in motion has been wow, just a realization of how much growth there has been involved in her preparation. I think that Madison looks confident, she looks happy, she looks motivated, she looks in control of her entire narrative. I saw her rehearsing as well and her performance was killer. So my expectation for Canada this year at the preliminaries is really off the roof. Let's wait and see, but I have a really good feeling for this year. Colombia is definitely killing the game at this particular point in the competition. I'm so excited. She is one of the mothers of the badge, and I'm going to be fully honest. In the very beginning, when I got here, I was taken back a little bit because I thought she's doing too much. Like every time she will see the fans, she will stop in line, she will do the whole presentation of the outfits, the videos and everything. But the more that I've been here, it's been almost 2 weeks that I arrived in El Salvador, the more that I really appreciate that energy. At this point, everyone is exhausted, everyone is trying their best. And for her to come out with a smile every single time and just give us her absolute everything is something that, I have to commend her. Facially, there is no denying that she is one of the strongest contestants this year. Look at the sharp lines in her face. It's just absolutely breathtaking. She is also working really hard on the performance, and I actually got to meet with some people from her team the other day, so we were talking about some of the preparation behind the scenes and everything that goes into this preparation for Miss Universe, and I can tell you I have so much respect, love for Miss Colombia, and I hope that the stars align for her and that she's able to make it. Miss Dominican Republic is the next one that I would like to highlight. Of course, one of the real standouts of the competitions since the very early moments of Miss Universe when she was crowned. She already made the top list of everyone, pretty much assuming that she will be the next Miss Universe. I must say, in person, she is definitely a standout. If you put her with other people, she will somehow find a way to bring the spotlight to her, whether it is with her looks, whether it is with the behavior, whether it is, there's always something special going on. Even her arrival in El Salvador gave a lot to talk about because she arrived in a private jet, so you can already see the magnitude of the preparation and the campaign that has been designed for her. I personally haven't had the opportunity to talk to her at all, to connect with her at all, and I know that that has been kind of the experience with some of my colleagues as well. She is not as close to perhaps the media or the audience, which I believe it might be due to the language barrier. She does speak English fluently, Spanish as well, but she's not as comfortable with it, and she knows that a lot of the press and the media covering here in El Salvador obviously is Spanish, so I think that maybe that's why she stays a little bit away. I don't know how that might affect her performance at Miss Universe, because I do feel like there is a little bit of a disconnect between contestant and audience. But, I am sure that she will perform excellently during prelims. I'm sure that she will kill it on stage. So, of course, the judges will also take those things into consideration. So, let's just wait and see what's going to happen with Miss Dominican Republic. But let me know, where does she stand currently on your top lists? Now, let's move on to the host candidate, who is welcoming all of us here in El Salvador, of course, Miss El Salvador. Ever since she was crowned, we all know that there was a little bit of controversy. Some people were not so happy with her winning Miss Universe El Salvador. Some people thought that it should have been someone else. And then she disappeared for a while because she went to get some things done. I had kind of mixed feelings coming to El Salvador about her. Once that I arrived here, wow. This girl is constantly, her game is constantly on. She is super welcoming. She is very interactive. She is very on demand. Also, we must admit, because it is quite definitely her host country, so she has a little bit more responsibilities than the average candidate. She has a great team behind her. Actually, she shares the same team as Miss Dominican Republic. And honestly and respectfully, I'm going to say that I feel like the focus has been a little bit more on her because she's the national, representative. And I don't see a lot of people talking about her so far, but be aware. I wouldn't be surprised to see her in the top 10, perhaps even top 5. This is just the vibe that I'm getting from, everyone's energy, the things that I'm seeing going on around. So just keep an eye on that. But let's see, El Salvador is very promising this time around. France. Now for Miss France, I had the opportunity to interview her just the other day here on the channel. A lot of people were complaining because we had an interview in French, and let me tell you, that was my decision. I wanted to film in French. I wanted to speak in French because I never get to showcase that side of me here on the channel. But she is fluent in French, English, Spanish. You can talk to her in many languages. I have seen her interact with content creators from all over the world, different languages, no problem. She is super eloquent, makes sense. She has a lot of substance when she speaks, and she knows that there is a lot of pressure on her shoulders. However, she doesn't get it. She doesn't allow it to get to her head, because she knows that in France, pageants might not be as big or as influential, but nonetheless, she is absolutely trying her best. She did mention that one of her weaknesses was perhaps the pasarela, the walk. So I'm waiting until tonight's preliminary to see how all of that is going to translate on stage. But, I think that she's going to be a surprise and a pleasant one. So let me know, how do you feel about Miss France? I know that some of you saw her as a potential winner. Let me see if you still believe in that fantasy. Let's talk about Guatemala, one of the mothers of the batch as well, and she is so incredibly beautiful. This woman in person, I will say it this way, she represents a Miss Universe. She carries herself like a Miss Universe, she looks like a Miss Universe, she speaks like a Miss Universe, she interacts with people like a Miss Universe, and I think that, I will be surprised if I don't see her minimum at the top 10 of the competition. I know that, this is kind of a new thing for everyone because it's the first years that mothers are accepted at Miss Universe, but I must say, both times. So both Colombia and Guatemala have been excelling so far in the competition. A lot of people were kind of like putting them against one another because, ooh, two mothers and whatnot. But I will say they're really, really different in terms of personality. I think that Colombia is a little bit more of an extrovert and a people pleaser. I feel like Guatemala, it's a little bit more reserved, and it's a little bit harder to, tap into her and like get to have access to everything, but that doesn't mean that she's not warm. She's just a little bit more composed, right? But still definitely a standout in person. Let's talk about Miss India, Shweta Sharda, who I also had the ability to interview here on the channel. First impressions were the girl is super sweet, super nice, super prepared. So I'm gonna tell you a few things. First of all, I got the opportunity to see her during the rehearsals, and I was really, really, really pleased with her walk. For me, this was no surprise because Shweta has this reputation of being a famous choreographer. And for me, if I was, someone who is gifted in dancing, I would use those skills as well and translate them when it comes to the walk. Of course, it's a lot of choreography, it's a lot of rhythm, it's a lot of pacing. So I think that those things will come handy to Shweta in terms of, her preparation. I will say that from what I've seen in terms of her interaction with people, she tends to also like to please people. When they come out on the lobby, all of the girls, she always takes some time to, interact with everyone, take some photos. Yesterday she was even filming the audience because she wanted to post it or keep it for herself. I don't know, but she does have that connection. In terms of the communication skills, very, very eloquent. However, I do see that Shweta sometimes hesitates a little bit in terms of what she's going to say, how she's going to say it. And I think that, those are things that maybe she is just, stuck in her head and might be overthinking. I think that there is absolutely no reason for Shweta to overthink because personally, when I got to talk to her, she was eloquent, she was natural, but I do hope that she was able to overcome those things, especially for the closed-door interview, which already took place. So I guess that we already know. We can go and check out if there's any updates from her on how she did. But once the closed-door interview is behind us, if she manages to nail that, I know that she will bring the performance on stage during prelims and coronation night. Let me know down below, how do you feel about Miss India? Let's talk about Miss Indonesia, Fabienne. Coming into the competition, I didn't know how to feel about Indonesia because of everything that happened back home. There was already like a story that kind of gave us a first impression and like a pre-taste of what we could expect from the performance. It seemed like she had not a lot of team members and people, like helping her with the preparation. However, Indonesia over here, I will say this, she is one of the sweetest girls. She is one of the best behaved girls. She always seems to be on time, always prepared, always looking pristine. She is extremely nice to other girls. And honestly, one of the highlights for me, when I think of her, I think that she absolutely deserves to be in the top 20. And I think that, I just hope that the stars align for her. And similar to the story of Arboni last year, when there was so much controversy and so many people bashing her and whatnot, I hope that she's able to turn around and take control of her story this time around. Let's take a moment to talk about Miss Lebanon, Maya. Yes, I just got to talk to her a few days ago and she was a breath of fresh air. I know that Lebanon is not considered to be a powerhouse in pageantry. There's not as much hype, as much support, but that doesn't take away from the fact that it is a mighty country with a mighty representative this year at Miss Universe. In terms of looks, there is absolutely nothing that you can tell Maya. I think that she is definitely a standout when it comes to the way that she presents herself, her outfits, her facial beauty. Everything is definitely on point. I also really like that she seems to be so connected with her story, and knowing that her representation this year at Miss Universe is more than just, like a simple presentation of just a beauty pageant. She knows that she is carrying a story that she wants to tell. She wants to represent her entire community, and it's something that is bigger than her. I invite you guys to go and watch our interview together, and you will get a sense of what I see. And you will get a sense of what I'm saying. She deeply cares about this cause. And I mean, when someone is so invested, I can only hope for the best for them. Miss Mexico. Let's talk about Miss Mexico, Melissa Flores. Listen, I am really impressed with Miss Mexico this year. I remember doing a few videos about Miss Universe predictions and whatnot in the very beginning, you know, a few months ago, right after she was crowned. And of course, she was not on the list just yet because I didn't even have time to get to know her. This time around, I think that Melissa is at her peak in this particular moment. I got to talk to her as well. She's another one of the girls that I had the pleasure to interview, and she struck me as such a natural speaker, such a soft speaker, very approachable, very relatable. And of course, we all know that there are big changes in pageantry in Mexico. We just saw the appearance of a new Miss Universe head office in the country. So it seems to be a very exciting time for Mexico in terms of Miss Universe and pageantry. And I think that she is feeding off that energy because somehow every time that she comes out, she's glowing, she's happy, she's interactive. In terms of the looks, she has them. And in terms of the performance, I haven't seen so much, but I hope that she will live up to the expectation. Because if she does, easily, guys, easily a top 5. Now let's talk about Miss Nepal, who has been the topic of conversation of Miss Universe, of course, with fans who really, really love what she stands for and some who really would like to keep things as they were back in the day at Miss Universe. I'm going to say that Jane, whether you like her or not, she has managed to leave her footprint in the history of Miss Universe. I know that it's not everyone's cup of tea, not everyone is so inclusive, not everyone, you know, wants these changes to happen, but from what I'm seeing in person, from what I'm sensing, people, especially the locals here in El Salvador, love Jane. The other time we had a meet and greet at the mall, and the mall was full, packed with locals who wanted to show up and see the girls. And the moment that Jane stood up to go get the microphone and talk to them, she received a standing ovation. Of course, I know that some people have more of exclusive views on pageantry and they would like to keep it only for a certain type of girls. But what I will say is that if the girl is inspiring so many people, if the girl is really, her message is really translating to the audience, I believe that it's a positive thing, whether you like it or not. I mean, just think of some of the previous winners in recent years who perhaps had the look, but they were not so able to connect with a global audience the way that I think that Jane has managed to do it. Yes, of course, there are things that need to be addressed in terms of performance. There are videos online that people are criticizing because of some ways that she handled herself and whatnot. But what I'm going to encourage you to think about is that you cannot judge a person based on 10 seconds that you saw online or something of the sorts, because these girls are going through a lot of things. Personally, every single time when I talked to Jane, when I got to interact with her, and when I got to interview her, I also have an interview with her here on the channel, she was very kind, very polite, so no complaints. I'm happy for her and I hope to see her obtaining a placement. Let's talk about Miss Nicaragua, Shanice, who was also one of the girls who was extremely hyped since the beginning of the competition. I think that she has managed to maintain that hype within the bubble of Miss Universe, because so far I have seen a lot of videos and people and pages posting about her and still putting her at their #1 spot for winning the Miss Universe crown. I think that she definitely has the potential. She has such a positive energy, vibe, aura, performance. During the rehearsals, she was one that really managed to catch my attention. My only thing about her, my only feedback would be that sometimes I feel like the looks are a hit or miss. Sometimes she looks absolutely incredible. Sometimes there's something that I feel like is throwing off the entire look, or some sudden changes. Sometimes she might have the short hair, sometimes it's really long. So there's a little bit of, room for consistency in that particular part. But of course, other than that, her potential, her beauty, her performance, everything else is right there. I haven't really heard her speak in English, so I don't know how eloquent her English is, but in Spanish, definitely a standout. So if she has that on the bag, I believe she will be okay for the rest. Next, I'm going to put these two girls because my comments are very similar. I'm talking about Miss Paraguay and Miss Peru. Both of them, I think, that are being underrated. I don't see enough people talking about them, or when they talk about them, they are ranking them too low on their lists. Both Paraguay and Peru are standouts in terms of beauty, in terms of class, in terms of how they carry themselves, in terms of the looks. Every single day they are delivering it. I don't know why, especially for Peru, who has a little bit more of a name in pageantry because she competed previously at Grand. I haven't seen as many people talking about her, but I do think that she does have the potential to enter the top 20, perhaps even the top 10. I honestly don't know if maybe the association with Grand from the past might have an impact, because you know these are organizations that have different visions and whatnot, but I hope that it shouldn't, because she does have a lot to offer, and I would love to see that being recognized on the stage of Miss Universe. Same thing applies to Miss Paraguay. Of course, she has not competed in Grand, but I do think that people are not really giving her the chance that she might deserve, because maybe she doesn't have as much of a sash factor, you know, country or anything of the sorts. Anyways, let's move on and talk about Miss Philippines, MMD, Michelle Marquez D, which I am so happy with her performance so far. For those of you who have been subscribed to my channel and following for a while, you know that I follow Michelle ever since she joined Miss Universe the very first time. So the first years that she joined, she ended up as a first runner-up. Back then, I even have some constructive criticism about her. There were things that needed to improve, and this time around, coming to Miss Universe in 2023, I mean Miss Universe Philippines, you guys saw me screaming and being so happy when she won, because I truly thought that she deserved it at that particular time. Now, coming here to El Salvador, Michelle has improved drastically. There's something about her, the glow, the aura, the confidence, the looks, just the way that she carries herself, the mindset, everything is on point. I did post an interview with her, which went a little bit viral, and it was, you know, doing the rounds of social media, and I was just elated. I'm not going to lie, out of all of the interviews that I have done so far, this is the one that left me with the best feeling about the conversation, not just about the questions that I was able to ask and the answers that she gave me, but also the way that she made me feel during the interview. So that's something that a lot of people neglect, you know, and Miss Universe is not just supposed to give you pretty answers and whatnot. She's also supposed to make you feel something, and I got that feeling from Michelle. Not to make this, you know, like a stereotypical thing, but, you know, sometimes we talk about know when to peak. And last year, especially, that was kind of an issue. People were saying, let's forget about when to peak, just be good all the time. I think that Michelle is peaking at the right time. As I said, prelims is in just a few hours. I'm going to get ready after this and go there. And I have a feeling that Michelle is just going to excel. We'll have another video after this talking about the post preliminaries to see how things went down. But going into it, I am confident, I am happy. I saw her team yesterday and they were also over the moon. Let's talk about Miss Puerto Rico, one of the powerhouses in pageantry at Miss Universe. Last time that I made a prediction list, she was actually my #1 pick for the crown for Miss Universe 2023. And I'm going to say Miss Puerto Rico has a lot of different strengths. When you look at her, her looks is very impactful. Her styling is always on point. She is very close with the people. But I'm going to say she is a little bit more reserved. And especially when you have so many girls who are extroverted, who are giving us so much energy, so much interaction, I do feel like sometimes she tends to fade a little bit in the background. Again, not because of the looks, but just because of the way that she interacts with people. I do not know if this might have an impact on her when it comes to the way that the organization sees her and perceives her. Maybe not, because she seems to be always very respectful of whatever instructions they're given. Maybe if they're looking for someone a little bit more, you know, interactive, who is able to reach out a little bit easier, that might have an impact. I think that I would be lying if I told you that because of that, she hasn't gone down a little bit on my list. I don't see her necessarily as of right now as my #1 pick for the crown, but I do still think that she could easily manage to obtain a top 10 placement and still make Puerto Rico very, very proud. Let me know in the comment section, how do you feel? Because I was one of those people who, since the very beginning, I was like, Carla, she is a threat, she might win it. So let me know if those feelings have evolved ever since. Okay, there's only a few more people that I would like to talk about, and let's continue with South Africa. Bryony, I got to talk to her as well, and I'm going to put that aside for a second. Let's talk about the looks. She looks like $1 million. This girl looks like a Miss Universe, no questions asked, and I believe that Bryony could easily be a threat, crack that top 10, top 5. We saw the potential in her eloquence. ever since Miss South Africa. Like, we don't even have to wait for Bayoni to come on the stage of Miss Universe for us to know that she's a great speaker. She's able to transmit her ideas, her messages like nobody else, and that's something that is common to girls from South Africa. However, back then when she competed, I did have a concern in terms of the performance, how she will carry herself on stage, and I am so happy to say that this is no longer a concern. I have seen her during the rehearsals, and I was impressed. And I knew that, of course, from the moment that she will win Miss South Africa, she would, receive intensive coaching, training. And one of the things that she did reveal is that she also got a personality coach, which I can see how much it has helped her. Not only, of course, with, the things that she has to say, the type of conversations that she's able to hold, but also the way that she carries herself, how she presents herself. She's so likable, so funny, so approachable. If you guys notice on my interview with her, she's the one who actually started the interview. I was just scrolling on my phone looking for things, and then she just went like, hi. So there's something very spontaneous, very likable about her, which is also complementing the already immaculate looks that she has been providing. So watch out for South Africa. I know some people say they have won too much recently, so maybe, watch out. Let's talk about one of the front runners of the competition, Miss Thailand. And you would remember that the very first time that I did a prediction for Miss Universe 2023, Miss Thailand was my #1 pick. Let's be honest, there has been so much that has been said about Antonia ever since she arrived here in El Salvador. She was one of the first candidates to arrive here. A lot of people were saying, she's being oversaturated because she's being pictured with everyone. She's overexposed. There's too much going on. Listen, Antonia still carries that very strong Miss Universe energy, Miss Universe aura, and I know that a lot of the girls have started to peak at the right time. I spoke earlier about Philippines, I spoke earlier about Mexico, El Salvador. There are girls who are definitely showing up at this particular time. So I would be lying if I'm saying that the attention is not being divided a little bit. It's not longer just on Antonia, but everyone else is taking the rightful spot on the spotlight. Now, you will also remember, if you watched one of those videos, when I mentioned that Antonia is great at many things. She might not be the best at some of those things, but she still brings a certain level of consistency. Would you rather have a candidate that is extremely eloquent but then lacks in all other aspects? Or would you rather have someone who is above average in most things and then provides like a very balanced public persona, public presence? I personally will go with the latter. That's exactly what I got from my interview with Antonia. Granted, yes, she could perhaps shorten the answers, she could perhaps edit a little bit more to make it more impactful, but still, I had fun talking to her. I was able to relate to her story. It was clear to the point that it was accessible to me, so personally, I had no complaints about it. So I think that Antonia is definitely still on the run for Miss Universe crown. I see her minimum top 5, perhaps even top 3. So let's see and wait and find out what the stars in the universe has prepared for Antonia. Last but not least, I'm going to take a moment to talk about Miss Venezuela. Venezuela, of course, it's a powerhouse in pageantry. Everyone talks about these candidates every single year because of how much preparation and how much candidates from Venezuela excel in pageantry. Diana is no exception. I think that Diana's biggest strength and her biggest asset is her personality. She is likable, she is warm, she makes you feel seen, included, and just like you matter for as long as she's able to interact with you. The first time that I saw her, we made eye contact and she came to me and she gave me a hug, and that was the very first time that we met. And I was like, what is going on? I've never felt this from any pageant girl before, but she has that ability. I know that in terms of performance, she will also deliver because, of course, having the entire team of Miss Venezuela behind her back and also having some pageant experience already at Miss Earth, she is definitely a threat and is going to bring that A game. I love the looks. I think that she is very strategic and yeah, I'm just hoping for the best. I know that not everyone is a fan of Diana. Some people like to, bash her and like questions and whatnot, but all I'm saying is just wait and see. Just sit down and let her do the performance and whatnot, and then we can talk. So there you go, everyone. I'm gonna end it here. I believe this is a super long video. But I hope that you guys at least got some insight into what is going on behind the scenes, my personal opinions about some of these girls. There are so many that I cannot possibly interact with every single one of them, so I just wanted to share my feelings about some of them as we speak. But I will do the reading now in the comment section down below, as I also want to hear your thoughts. Thank you for watching. Go ahead, hit the like button, subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.